actually want to start off with a big question that's being posed to members of the Democratic Party. Does it make sense to impeach Donald Trump given the findings of the Mueller report? Now, if you've paid close attention to the findings, you will see that there were a number of questionable things that Donald Trump has done, things that would certainly get any other person in trouble. And so what does Klobuchar think? Does it make sense to push for impeachment of Donald Trump? Here's her answer.
Should the House Judiciary Committee move forward with impeachment proceedings against President Trump?
Okay, so I believe very strongly that President Trump should be held accountable. When you look through that report, it is appalling, some of the things that were going on. And you could see time and time again, maybe you've read parts of it, that was his advisors that held him back. So I believe, first of all, we need to have hearings in both the House and the Senate, and not just with Attorney General Barr. We need to bring Director Mueller before the United States Senate, right? Because otherwise, we are never gonna get to the bottom of it. The impeachment proceedings are up to the House. They're gonna have to make that decision. I am in the Senate, and I believe that we are the jury. I've always believed this from the beginning to the end. I'm a former prosecutor. I believe you look at the evidence to make decisions. So if the House brings the impeachment proceedings before us, we will deal with them. But let's look at what Director Mueller said. He said there were two ways for accountability. One was Congress, and we're gonna start seeing that with these investigations. And the second is other investigations, right? There's cases going on in your home state of New York. There's cases going on all over the country. But there is a third way to hold this president accountable, and that is by defeating him in the 2020 election. And I believe I can do that.
Senator, just to give him a quick sense, do you believe that anything you've read and processed in that report could have the word impeachable attached to it?
First of all, I believe I'm the jury here, so I'm not gonna predispose things. I'm not gonna say it is or it isn't. But what I will say is there's very disturbing things that would lead you to believe there's obstruction of justice. I asked Attorney General Barr these questions. I said, well, if the president or if anyone would try to change the testimony of a witness, would you consider that obstruction? I asked him a series of questions, and I'm really looking forward to asking him those again, because several of them he answered yes, and several of them he wouldn't say. And a lot of that you see right in the middle of the report.
A wishy-washy answer, to say the least.
Yeah, you know, I have a weird respect for Klobuchar now, because she is avowedly and unapologetically wishy-washy. Yeah, and but I partly really do mean it, right? Like, she's like, look, I'm a moderate / centrist / corporate friendly. She doesn't say that part, but that's obvious, right? And so if you want someone who's not going to do a lot of change, I'm raising my hand and I'm saying I'm not gonna do a lot of change. And she's been very consistent about that, whereas Beto O'Rourke and Buttigieg seem to be hiding the ball a little bit, right? Hey, my policies, I don't know, you'll have to see in 2020, right? Whereas Klobuchar is like, no, I will not fight for you, okay? Right, like impeachment, what name so, right? Like, ain't got nothing to do with me, that's the House. She said, look, I'm the jury. Yeah, the Senate is technically the jury, but that doesn't mean that you have to live in a cave. You can still evaluate facts that are already in essence in evidence, because this is not a courtroom. You're going to have a political trial if it gets to the Senate based on evidence that we all know that's in the public sphere. So for you to say I can't comment on that evidence makes no sense. You're not in a courtroom. So now Elizabeth Warren got a similar question, right?
Right, Elizabeth Warren did get a similar question, and I was actually gonna hold off on showing this clip until later when we actually get to the Elizabeth Warren portion of our coverage. But I think it's important to juxtapose her answer to Amy Klobuchar's answer. And I have to be honest with you, the strategy that Warren believes is important in these impeachment proceedings is what persuaded me. And so pay close attention to her answer. This is a bit of a long video, it's 2 minutes and 40 seconds, but listen to the entirety of her argument, because I think she makes a really good case about what this would mean for politicians' records. Take a look.
If any other human being in this country had done what's documented in the Mueller report, they would be arrested and put in jail. Obstruction of justice is a serious crime in this country. But Mueller believed, because of the directions from Donald Trump's Justice Department, that he could not bring a criminal indictment against a sitting president. So I think he's wrong on that, but that's what he believed. So he serves the whole thing up to the United States Congress and says, in effect, if there's going to be any accountability, that accountability has to come from the Congress. And the tool that we are given for that accountability is the impeachment process. This is not about politics. This is about principle. This is about what kind of a democracy we have. In a dictatorship, everything in government revolves around protecting the one person at the center, but not in our democracy and not under our Constitution. We have checks and balances, and we have to proceed here in a way, understanding our place in history, that not only protects democracy now, but protects democracy when the next president comes in and the next president and the president after. And I believe that every person in the Senate and the House ought to have to vote and to say either, yeah, that's okay with me. Yeah, let a president just step in the way he did when he told the White House counsel to go fire Mueller, and then told the White House counsel to go lie about having told the White House counsel to go fire Mueller, and then told the White House counsel to write a letter saying that Donald Trump had not told him to go fire Mueller, and then to say, why on earth would you take notes about what I said to you? The lawyers I deal with never put anything in writing. If there are people in the House or the Senate who want to say that's what a president can do when the president is being investigated for his own wrongdoings, or when a foreign government attacks our country, then they should have to take that vote and live with it for the rest of their lives.
That last line, they should have to take that vote and live with it for the rest of their lives. That was powerful, and it persuaded me because, look, do I think that Trump is fit to be president? No, I don't, and I've made that case on the show many times. But I keep going back to, well, Republicans control the Senate. They're never going to vote to impeach Trump. But it's not just about getting enough votes. It's about putting all of these politicians on the spot and making them vote with their conscience or lack of conscience. And I think what she said there was pretty powerful.
Yeah. I think that it's important that she's not listening to me. So let me explain. So if some of the stuff that she said, it sounds almost verbatim from the tweets that I sent over the weekend. So to the point where I was like, are they checking top progressives? I'm not saying anything, I'm just saying, right? Social media, et cetera, right? No, but I realized one of the things that she said, the core of what she said, is in a petition that we wrote but have not released yet. So obviously there's no way that anybody on her team could have seen it. And so the reason why I'm proud of that is because that means she's a real progressive, right? It's not a copycat. It's not, hey, which way's the wind blowing? Hey, what did the other person say? What does that pundit say? What is this or whatever? She actually believes it, which leads to point number two. What happened? I thought you couldn't walk and chew gum at the same time. That's what Schumer always gives as an excuse. That's what Pelosi always gives as an excuse. But here's Elizabeth Warren fighting for impeachment harder than almost any candidate.
Including Bernie Sanders, by the way.
No, not almost. Definitely fighting harder than any other candidate for impeachment. And all at the same time, putting forward the boldest and most detailed progressive policy positions. Yeah. And I mean, look, it's fair to call that a tie between her and Bernie Sanders. You could have Bernie Sanders leading in that category, but certainly she's in the top two. So she's doing both and doing both incredibly strongly at the same time. Wow, that wasn't that hard, was it? Yeah. Not at all hard.
She looks healthy, and I'm gonna say that's a check mark in the Elizabeth Warren column because. Our current president does not look healthy, but she looks lean and healthy, and she meant what she was saying. You can tell that she was angry, and she was, I just want to go back to Amy before her, because from the perspective of a constituent, right? When I hear somebody saying, we have to uphold this code, these are the laws, this is the way it works. But we're talking about somebody who doesn't do any of that. And those are the people that I don't want to vote for. Those are the people I want to stay away from. The people who want to hold everybody to a high moral standard and allow Donald Trump to do whatever he wants to do and never have to meet the code that everybody else has to meet. And at some point we have to get dirty with them because they don't care. And it's just every time I've been watching the people talk about the impeachment stuff. One, a lot of people are scared of Donald Trump. They're scared of his mouth, they're scared of his wrath. I don't want somebody in office who's afraid of Donald Trump. I want somebody who's going to say, you know what, you can't bully me because I walk in a way that's worthy of the calling, unlike yourself. Go ahead, pull out what you can, do your dirty work and see what you're gonna pull out on me. And Elizabeth Warren looks like it, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just watching them and I can't hear one more person say, well, I don't think it's a good idea because this, legally, or we can't do this, or you know what? Donald Trump should not be president and he did it. Let's stop talking about what we can't do and let's get it done, you know?
Yeah, 100%. Nancy Pelosi in a call with House Democrats again today tripled down saying she doesn't want to pursue impeachment, which leads to the point that Elizabeth Warren made, which I think is the most important. She said, look, this is not about political expediency. So that's not what the law is about. That's not what impeachment's about. So even if it costs us politically, we have an obligation to do it. Because if we don't, then it's on the record that the president can break the law and it's okay. And on important matters, on obstruction of justice, on campaign finance violations, paying hush money to your mistresses and covering it up. And the list goes on and on of the different things, but those two are clear crimes, clear felonies, high crimes and misdemeanors. And so are we going to say it's okay and set that precedent and not even pursue it? Or are we gonna say, we're gonna do the right thing, whether it's politically expedient or not? And so again, that's the contrast between her and Klobuchar in this case, because Klobuchar is like, well, golly gee, I can't talk about the evidence, blah, 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 blah. Why? That's a punt. It's not that she can't talk about the evidence. We all know the evidence.
Right.
This is not where a judge is gonna decide what a jury is going to see. We all see it, it's in the Mueller report, it's public. So it's a way of trying to, have her cake and eat it too, but it doesn't work. It's not the time for this. We're looking for a fighter. We're looking for someone who's gonna actually fight for progressives, whether it's against Donald Trump or in favor of progressive policies.
And she
Elizabeth Warren's
politicized
both.
it too. She politicized it instead of staying on the topic of what you just said. And everybody who is, that is talking about fighting for our democracy, maintaining a standard that has been set here and should be upheld for now and in the future. She's like, well, the solution to this is electing me. She made it about herself. She made it political. It's like, forget all of y'all, the rest of the Americans, make me president and I'm gonna fix this. Meanwhile, we gotta still stay in bed with this man who, like you said, is, paying off mistresses, green lighting sexual assault, all of the stuff that he's done, that's countless. And the worst thing you can say about Elizabeth Warren is that she claimed to be Native American.
Yeah,
I'll take that.
So I wanted to just quickly make a point of that, on that. Elizabeth Warren is the candidate that's been attacked the most by Donald Trump. And she's the one who's coming out the strongest in favor of impeachment, completely ignoring the arguments about how this might be politically unpopular for Democrats and focusing on how it's the right thing to do to get these lawmakers on the record voting either for or against impeachment. And that says a lot about your elected official.
So one last thing on that. If you're from outside the country, you might think, well, Anna's making a logical point. Why is she emphasizing it? If Trump attacked you the most, you would attack him the most. No, not in this country, and not with these political parties. Normally, how it goes in this country for the last 40 years is if a Republican attacks you really hard, the Democrats then run as fast as they can away from the battle. And so when we have a Democrat who stays in the battle and punches back, it's like, whoa, Where did that come from? I mean, it's nearly unprecedented in America.
Yeah.
And we have people like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer who hide in the corners and the shadows and are afraid of like coming out of their bunker. And so and they're called the leaders of the Democratic Party. So in that context, Elizabeth Warren is a refreshing alternative.
The TYT Plus app is now available on iOS and Android. Download to get more TYT content at tyt.com/app.